London, New Hampshire. It's June of 1996, and we're looking at Shepherd's Ice House with William F. Kidder, proprietor and tinker. And we're going to spend a while this morning going around not only the ice house, but the buildings that have grown from it. We're going to meet the proprietor, Bill Kidder, who's going to spend an hour or two with us, taking us through everything that's here. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Good morning. Nice to have you here.
Well, good for you. Bill, you're standing in the building called the Ice House. Why is it called the Ice House?
Well, because Shepherd, this was the town ice house. The ice was cut at Little Lake Sunapee and brought here. And up here was a pulley, and then down here was what they call a snatch block. And it was in here, and then the horse walked from here out that way, and there was just a slot up through here, and it would pull the ice up to a level, and then they'd slide it in on the sawdust.
Oh, so the ice was kept in this building?
Yes,
Yeah.
and this here is cement blocks. And the reason they're cement blocks is it was falling down, and so we jacked the building up. The sawdust had rotted all the timbers off, and put cement blocks on it to save the building.
And that big gear there?
And that big gear came from up in Pearlytown, New Hampshire. And my grandfather had a mill up there, and they had two ponds. One they used in the morning and one they used in the afternoon. And we found that at the bottom of the gate for the upper mill.
Oh, there was a lock between the two?
Yeah, it was a big gate that they put up
Uh-huh.
to control the water. Yeah. In the old days, up in the town square, right where the library is now, they used to have scales, and that's a piece of the old scales.
And the scales were used to weigh?
Well, Shepherd used the scales a lot for coal, because they used to bring coal up from, they'd weigh the team in the morning, the wagon. They'd go to Potter Place, load up with coal, come back, and then you paid whatever the scale said. And it was a public scale, and Benny Sargent had charge of it. And for a nickel, you could go over and they'd weigh you. Bought it at some antique shop.
So that's hitching post that was someplace and now is here. Tell us about the desk, Bill.
Well, this is an old desk that a friend of mine who was in the legislature by the name of Larry Boucher, and he used to have a store in Hooksett, and he was going to throw it away, and I said, gee, don't throw it away. And see, the top comes up, and then you can, your typewriter comes out. And so he said, well, if I don't take it to dump, I'll bring it up and give it to you. So that's how it landed in New London.
And what else you got on that desk? Looks like a toy merry-go-round or something?
Yes, this is a chain toy, C-H-E-I-N. And Petey and I collected these.
Oh, goodness.
And this is the original box that it was in. And you can see it's a J chain.
Is that wind up or is it battery?
There's a little gadget on here that you just move over and it winds it up. Whoop. This is also another chain toy.
Oh, boy. How old would you say that was?
Oh, in the early 20s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But they made a lot of toys, and we just loved them. And so we just, Marx people built toys and others, but we
How
liked
about
the
your
chain.
little guy on the
This
bars?
This is sort of interesting. It's obviously, some blacksmith made it, and they give the guy a turn, and he performs. That's right. Does a little act for you.
Does he turn around and come the other way?
If it's on the level, it'll turn over once, but no, these is just where I keep junk.
Junk boxes. Huh?
Yeah, junk boxes, that's right.
Organized.
Are these all
And,
tools that
and these
pertain
are
to-
all icing tools. And in the old days, if you wanted ice, you put that in your window, a sign like
Oh, I
that.
remember those.
Guthrie
Turned
ice.
it for how much ice you wanted.
That's right,
Yeah.
how many pounds you want.
Guy came in with a leather thing over his back, or a rubber thing over his back to keep
That's
from
right.
getting wet.
And this is a tool that they use to drill a hole in the ice, and that's the measure they put down and pull up against it so they know how thick the ice was.
Ah,
And the one up above was used to pull the ice, there was a horse hook to it, up onto the platform where the trucks were that, or wagons, to take the ice and bring it down here.
and is this the start of a license plate collection?
No,
Or
every state sends every other state a copy of their license plate. And I used to buy rags from a junk dealer in Concord, and he picks junk up everywhere. And then I sold him my junk batteries. So one day he came up, he knew I was interested in old stuff, and he said the State House has just changed over to the new plates that they've received, and I thought you might like the old ones. And that's how I got that.
so you got one from all the, what were they, 48 states at the time?
Yeah, 48 states.
Yeah.
And they're not all there, 'cause I've given some of them away.
They're all 1949.
Now, where'd you get the slot machine? One-armed bandit.
Do you want to go into all this detail?
Oh, yes, yes indeed.
Well, there's a fellow up at
Maybe
Twin,
you don't want to tell.
there's a fellow up at Twin Lake Villa whose father was a judge in Massachusetts, and they had a summer home up there. And so he came up, and they'd have guests come up, and they had these slot machines. Apparently, it never got through the court in Boston, and they ended up in London. And so the fellow died, the judge died, and his son had him. We used to play poker up here at the house. And he finally had to have a serious operation. He brought it down and said, if I don't come back for the operation, this is your machine. And he died in the operation. That was young Jim Brown.
Ah. Anything more of note on that wall, a cash register?
Well, this here I call a Polish water shovel.
A
But
little,
actually what it was if a chunk of ice broke off, they didn't want it bumping into another chunk of ice and break another piece off, so they'd use those shovels. And there's another one down the other end for the same purpose.
Then you have the ice saw.
And this is the first air compressor that was in Kidder Garage in 1911.
huh?
And it was run with an electric motor. I just stuck a balloon on so you could see how it worked.
Huh?
This is the other Polish water shovel.
What do you keep in your refrigerator?
And this is a 1927 Chevrolet motor that was used as a saw. This is a power saw here for icing.
Huh?
And this is an old ice box. And we keep a few things in here in case anybody gets hungry, like a pecan pie.
Takes a cake of ice in the top.
Yeah, that's right. Cake of ice was in here. And underneath it was a pan, so the water dripped, and once
Yeah.
a day you had to empty the pan.
Okay.
This is a dog, sheep, or goat treadmill. And this is a manual that tells all about them. And they were made in Vermont. And on the back of it is a butter churn. And this is the way they made butter. They'd put a dog, sheep, or goat up there for him to work. And the butter churn on the back. And what they'd do, they'd hitch the dog here and then reward him when he got through. So he either worked or he fell down. So, and then this is another butter churn. It works so easy that they put a foot pedal on it so the ladies can peel potatoes while they're making butter. This here is what they call a Buddy L toy, and it was given to me by my nieces many years ago. It was down in my cellar at the house, and I brought it up here with the idea of cleaning it up because it was all rust. It was sitting here, and a fellow who specializes in toys came in, and he said, "Do you realize what that's worth?" And I said, "It isn't worth very much the way it is, that's sure." So I told him about it, and he went out and got his book on toys, and they listed that as $2,300.
Wow.
And right after that, Pete Lauritsen came down, and he said, "Let me clean that up for you." So he took it down to his body shop and restored it. So
Well, it's nice to know your nieces have good taste.
I would say that they had excellent.
How long ago was that he gave you that price, Bill?
How long ago? Oh, within 2 years.
Oh, so it's a recent
So
price.
this is,
Yeah.
He just gave it to me last Christmas, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
The original horn was a bulb horn. And then next came a klaxon. And then later on was Model T Ford. And then Model A Ford. And then a little later, this is Cadillac. If you're late to school, you might hear this. If you're speeding down the road, you might hear this. And then you're supposed to do this. Am I going too fast for you?
No.
I think you ought to do that, Janie. See what Richard found.
Ooh, love that.
Wow.
Aren't those
They
beautiful?
have a beautiful sound to them.
Yeah.
He'll be out with the carriages.
That's an ear of corn, right?
This is an ear of corn,
That's right.
and I'm gonna put it in here. Is this
And
the
then-
right way?
Yeah, push it down. Go slowly, 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 slow, go slow.
Whoops! Now I have all my corn in the bucket, and I have a husk that you can use over in another building eventually.
And I guess we'll see that for the film.
They were my mother's, and she had them made here in New London when she came to Colby years ago, and she rode up from Potter Place to New London in the stagecoach.
Ah,
That was the transportation of the day.
and the caps? That's a small collection of caps, as your collections usually go, Bill.
No, just picked them up here and there.
Pretty hefty whistle down there on the floor.
Yeah, this whistle here was used on the Boston to Fall River boat, night boat.
Ah,
And it's really very heavy. It must weigh 150 pounds.
what is it, steam?
Yes,
Okay.
it was a steam whistle.
Yeah.
And this here is a little steam engine. This is a buffer. I run it on air, but it...
Can we turn that on? Is that,
Oh, that's a polisher, buffer? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to put this in.
How old would that be, Bill?
Early 1900s.
Anything I should know about these stoves, Bill?
Anything you should know about the stoves?
And I knew that I was saving stuff, so they'd bring them in and give them to me.
I suspect
They're
they came.
kerosene.
They came in different shape than they're in right now.
Yeah. Let it go once in a while. Here's something that's it's sort of interesting. This is a lamp that I bought years ago, and this is let's see, paid $3.50 for it. It's called a Bale lamp, and after 5 hours of polishing, this is what it looks like.
Wow.
These are early kerosene carriage lamps. The original ice house is there, and the other was the woodshed that Shepherd used.
When was this edition put on, Bill?
This edition?
Yeah.
I don't know, late 60s.
And was it was before the other end down there?
Yeah.
And this is the kids' room, the kids' toys.
Dick, why don't you come in and show them how this works?
Okay.
This
Right
is
here?
this is Dick Brady, who's the handiest man in town. Former head of the KSI telephone company.
Ah.
Dick, just get in and show them how. These were used in the boardwalk in Atlantic City. You could either hire somebody to push you, or you could pedal it yourself. And doctor was here the other day, and he said that's the best damn therapy machine he's ever seen. You're off.
You steer it with the right hand.
Yeah, by twisting.
Yeah.
Well, if it was on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, you'd think it would be a two-passenger.
I bet they probably did make some two-passenger
I'm
ones.
sure.
Well, that's actually quite easy to maneuver.
Nicest toys we have. Little girls just love that. They get in and pedal it, and you steer it with the reins.
Oh.
See, so just as though you're driving the horse.
Yeah. What age do you think that is?
Oh, 1890.
Really?
And over here is an early trolley bell that they used. And it's right under the floor of the trolley car. The conductor keep the cows off the track. Stanley steamer engine. I keep this so people won't get playing with it, but you, and this is a car that it was in, the 1906 Stanley. And originally they were horizontal, and they were always covered up because of the dirt roads. And so they were, as I say, all covered up, so many people never seen one. And this is the drive gear, and this down here where it went on the rear axle. And of course it's run by steam. And if you want to go the other way, you just change this lever and it'll go the other way. But that's a Stanley steamer engine.
Now, in theory, they could go unlimited miles per hour, right?
Oh yeah, there wasn't a, I've got a steamer, you'll see it out there. There's not a car in town to beat me from there up to the street. But then you've lost your zip and you have to wait a few minutes.
How about the padlocks, Bill?
Well, that's a long story, but years ago I got some padlocks from an old fella down in Sutton. And I went down there to get them, some old car parts, and I saw this box of padlocks. And he said to me, he said, I said, what do you want for the padlocks, John? He said, I'm going to throw them in. And I said, yeah, I don't expect you to do that. And he said, well, you know, I feel kind of guilty because all this Model T stuff you're buying, your father took the dump 25 years ago. And here I was buying it back. And so from then on, that's how I started the padlock collection. And been going ever since. This is an especially nice piece that my sister and brother-in-law, the Greenways, gave me that came from Philadelphia. They used the ladies to ride around the states.
I can remember going up to Chestnut Hill and riding it home.
Did
That's the
you?
way we got it home, so we could bring that.
So that's pedal driven too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This is a cute little.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a story behind every one of these.
Well, this is a especially interesting one. This is called an Irish mail. You can, I only get a shot of it on there. But in the 1900 Sears Roebuck catalogs, these were advertised for $2.89.
What year was that catalog?
1900s.
Okay.
But that's how they made hand-hewn beams. There's an old tree and there's an old man around in London here, and he used to do that. And they used a broad axe to do this part, and then they used an adze. This is an adze, and to do the fine work. And then this is the drill that they sat on the log and drilled like this for the pegs. And there's one of the pegs that went to the beam.
Where'd that one come from, Bill?
Orange, Vermont.
And that from a blacksmith shop.
Yeah. And they had an auction and they sold everything in the shop. And I bought that.
They're beautiful. Why aren't they should be in your blacksmith shop. They should be in your blacksmith shop.
Yeah, well, I hung it up there and I can't move everything. That's not wrong. Let's not overdo this.
Yeah. Are they leather? Bellows?
Oh yeah, they're all leather. No.
Another whistle.
Blow.
Should we end up with the whistles? I saw that the other day.
Huh?
I saw that the other day. And I
Yeah,
wondered
it's
what
a
it was.
lawnmower. All the way around, Dick. That's right.
Let me get a close-up of those teeth.
We call it the storage building because that's what it was originally.
Tell us about the weather vane, Bill.
Well, I bought it in an antique show many years ago.
So it is an antique.
It's a early fire engine.
Uh-huh.
Why do you call this a storage building?
Well, because I told you this.
Yeah, but you didn't
you
tell us
tell Duke?
while I was recording
So
this.
he'll know what we're talking about. Well, years ago, people used to come to New London and spend the summer, and they could have non-resident plates, and they were good from 15th of June to the 15th of September. And then they'd go home and leave their cars here, and we used to store their cars. and that's why we built the building.
Okay. And this that I'm looking at right here, is this the first fire engine?
This is the first fire, no, it's the second fire engine in London. The first one is 1923. This is the 1926. And my father, William M. Kidder, was chief of the fire department at the time it was purchased. And in 1949, the town turned this in toward a new one. And when they brought the new one up for the fire department, they turned this one in, and the fellow stopped at our garage and to put gas in it to drive it back to Boston. And I just happened to pump the gas for him, and he said, so I said, I hate to see this leave New London because my father was chief. And he said, well, why don't you buy it? And I said, what do you want for it? He said, you get me a ticket from Potter Place to Boston, and $250, and I'll leave the goddamn thing right here. And that's exactly what happened.
Don't you have the fire chief's hat?
That's up the office.
Oh, that's a...
I really should have it sitting down there.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Now, I made a mistake and turned a handle on that thing once, didn't I, Bill?
Made the what?
I made a mistake and turned a handle up in the front seat there and made a big noise. Isn't this the one with the siren on it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. This is,
Sorry?
this is siren. Even a little place to stop it. And this is the bell. And I saw a bell recently at an antique place, and it was very similar to that. They wanted $5,200, an original bell. I couldn't believe it.
Now,
That is the original bell.
this says Cosmopolitan, but what is it?
Well,
LePage or something like that makes fire engines?
American LaFrance built
LaFrance,
fire engines,
yeah.
but they're very expensive. So if you wanted a little cheaper one, and this cost $6,000, and American France at that time was $9,000. And so the town said, well, let's get the cheaper one because it has American LaFrance equipment. And it's all American LaFrance equipment. But it's a Continental engine in it and a Brockway chassis and American LaFrance equipment. So they called it Cosmopolitan, but it saved the town $2,000. And the town paid $1,500 down and the balance in 3 years.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
They had many fires?
Well, quite a few. Yeah.
And all of the hose and pipes and whatnot are original
Yes.
with it?
Yeah,
Ladders?
yeah, it's all original equipment.
What is that?
This is a hot air pumping engine. And down Lake Sunapee, people built cottages. In the top of the cottage, they'd have a copper tank, and a 500 or 1,000 gallon tank. And they wanted, of course, to get running water. So this unit would be down in the boathouse, and the chauffeur would get down in the morning and build a fire in it. That's and when this gets so hot, you can't put your hand on there. You spin the flywheel, and it'll pump 2,000 gallons of water an hour and put it 40 feet in the air.
Wow.
And it's called a Ryder Eric. And this is a book I got from the Smithsonian in Washington that tells about it. You had this going down and pull the cold water up from the lake, and then the heat from here was in here, so it would keep the difference between the heat and the cold would keep it going. It didn't produce much horsepower, but would go I didn't deny it, as long as we had a heat in it. I've got it hooked up so with a pipe underneath so you could pump the water around. Just for, we used to put it in the hospital day parade.
This was owned by the water department?
Yeah, there was town of London Water Department, and Paul Gay was the superintendent. And it got so they couldn't use it anymore because it didn't run properly. Well, so he said, you can have it if you want. So I got it and found out that the two valves were burned in it. And we'll start it up so you can see, maybe. This is a...
To get where this goes.
This one here. This.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it'll start, maybe it won't.
Yeah, it started.
This is a choke. Also to pump out down to the sewer plant, if they had problems down there. And these are the valves.
Oh, boy.
They're a hard rubber, and they go down in here, and everything. And this drops down in here. With the boys. Fellow over in George's Mills had it, and he died and his wife was going to sell it, so I saw a sign for sale and picked it up.
Have you ever used it to mix cement?
No, I did not, no. But it works fine.
What year is that?
And Mary had it and Sladen.
Betsy Sladen bought
Betsy
it,
Sladen.
didn't she?
Yeah, Betsy bought a new one and Mary had it later.
That's a 1954 Ford.
That's right. Convertible.
Have you ever had it run?
Corvair. Belonged to Becky Irving.
Are you eventually going to do work on these, or are you just storing them, or what?
No, they both were out in snow and salt, and they're badly.
What's the history of it, Bill?
I bought this from a fellow named Fred Shaw, and his father cut 200 cords of wood one winter down in Salisbury, New Hampshire. And Fred had it all mounted like this. So it's a going machine. But they had a big belt on here and then the saw. And you went around with different people that had wood.
Let's see if we can get it trying. I don't hear anything.
What do you mean you're gonna get it to drink?
Well, it should, by pumping this, it should pump the gas up here.
Uh-huh.
But there's some leathers that are in there that probably aren't in too good shape, so we have to do it by hand.
We're cheating now a little bit. I mean, it's gone. Contact on?
Yep.
Okay.
This is the choke, right?
Yeah.
No, we'll give her a try.
Yeah. We get put.
Boy, it's back.
Model T used to do that too.
Yeah.
Did you kick it?
Fired back. Yeah, it fired.
churns around here. Waiting for you to take that one out. He's waiting for you to take that one out.
You want to talk about the Stevens?
Oh, yeah, well. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Stevens Duryea, 1909. And these cost $6,000 in 1909. And the little seat on the back, which you'll notice, a lot of people call them mother-in-law seats, but actually they're chauffeur seats. So if you had a car like this, you wanted to be able to drive it yourself. So you had a chauffeur in case you had a flat tire, but in the morning he would sit in the back seat and you and your wife would go into the office and then he'd take her shopping and then at night they'd reverse it. And, but it is, belonged to a very wealthy family in New Hampshire, and they'd given it to the chauffeur, and the chauffeur took it somewhere and the wheel came off, and he called me up and he said, it's down beside the road, if you want it, you can have it.
Bush was in town?
Oh yeah, I think that.
Did George ride in this car?
Well, Jim Cleveland had a get-together for George Bush, and John Sununu was there. And my wife and I had headed out for a parade. And we get up there, and John Sununu, whom I knew because of my relationship in the legislature, said, Bill, let's take Bush downtown so we can see that in your car. And I said, well, fine, I'll do it if you'll crank it. And he agreed to do that. And so Bush agreed to go. So we're all set to go, and John was going to crank it. And the Secret Service people were there, and they said, no way, too much for parking.
This is what?
This is a cedar. And notice the front wheel, that goes back and forth. And hanging on the wall is a green box. And that went right across the handles. So they fill that up with seed. And then this, one man could walk down through the field and they could seed that amount of land. But it's an accident thing. And depending on the type seed, you could adjust how much it would kick off.
Oh, yeah.
The decoration, the original decoration on it. An engine. And a lot of kids have never seen how a crankshaft works and pistons and connecting rods. And, so this gives them a little idea of things.
Model A.
Yeah.
So it's
And
Ford.
the fellow that ran the Greenfield Museum for Henry Ford was here one day, and he said, we've got everything out there, but we haven't got that. He said, when I go back, we're going to hook something up like it.
So this is 4-cylinder?
4-cylinder, Model A Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah. And up here is the pan that went with it, and the manifold, and the distributor, and the water pump. Those are all the parts that went with it.
Was it 1930, 29?
Yeah, 29 and 30. This is a real early sleigh. And this is a another sleigh that was over in the George's Mills store that David bought, and we had to take it apart. And this is where you warm your feet up in the wintertime. And this is a pair of gloves. A fellow was in the service. It was over in Afghanistan. He always wanted a sleigh, so he said, I bought the gloves and the robes, but I never got the sleigh, so he said, you might as well have them. So he brought them over and gave them to me.
Tell
And
them what kind it is with the little eagles.
it's an eagle head sleigh. And I've got it fixed so that it can be used in the summertime, so if we want to put a Santa Claus in it, why, we can do it. It's on these casters. And this is another similar type sleigh, here with the eagle head.
When were these built, Bill?
Oh, late 1800s, early 19. And this is an old grocer's wagon, Pressy and Jones, who were in the business here in New London. And that was their grocer's wagon when I was a little boy. A fellow named Pearlie Carson, who worked in the store, used to pick me up, and I used to ride. They made deliveries every day. You'd call up and say milk wagon, which originally came from Durham. And it was all beat up, and I bought it at an auction, and we fixed it up, and I put Crockett's Dairy, because that was the big dairy around London. But it actually came from Durham.
You actually have,
That's right. Yeah.
and the bottles have Crockett's Dairy right on them too, right in the glass.
That's a pint, huh? Not a quart.
And
Right.
take that.
It was probably cream bottles, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
those clean bottles. Yeah. And that, take that down. This way they used to deliver eggs, Dick. That basket. That's a little tight, but they will come off there. That's right.
All right, here we are.
Oh,
You could, he'd deliver milk, eggs, whatever you needed.
Put all your eggs in one basket?
That's right.
probably butter too, huh?
Sorry with a fringe on top. Why don't you get in there, Jenny? Put that hat on. Come right around here. You have to get into this side. This is a hospital day hat.
Oh dear.
You knew what happened once before when you tried to get it.
There we
There you
go.
are. Beautiful. Take it right down.
It's stuck.
Get it. Oh, no. Get right after Richard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wagon business in Arlington, Mass.
Uh-huh.
And they made this wagon and sold it to a fellow by the name of G.L. Locke in Winchester.
Yeah.
And when he found out I was interested in old things, he went back, this was 40 years later, and found this wagon that they had made and bought it from the old fella, and he charged them within $10 what they paid for it new, and they had used it all that time. And so we brought it up here. It's known as the Gott wagon.
What would they use that particular kind of wagon for?
Product around Arlington, and they'd leave at 3 o'clock in the morning in order to get into Faneuil Hall Market by 5, and that's when all the grocers came in to pick up stuff.
How about this one here, Bill?
This is just what they call a little Democrat wagon. They use, see there's a place in back where you can put stuff. And here again is another horse weight. But you can tuck things underneath the seat.
Tell me about the horse weight. What'd you do with the horse weight?
Well, the horse weight is used so if you wanted to stop and to go in on somebody's house to visit, why you took this out and hooked it onto the horse's bridle. And this is a snap for the bridle. And the horse thought he was hitched, so he couldn't move because they're very heavy. Weighs about 40 pounds, buck pound.
I don't recognize the name, but that doesn't mean anything.
It's a big wagon, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
I wonder how
and
much.
the Hollis would tell at the garage from 1911 on up.
Day books?
Day book, they call them,
Well,
yeah.
you recorded everything that was sold at the garage that day?
That's right,
Okay.
yeah. And I've got I think the earliest ones are somewhere else, but for instance, this one is 1928, 31, 32, so forth.
Well, IRS would love to get a hold of those bills.
1986 was one that Shell used, but groundbreaking. And this was for the Soldiers' Home over in Tilton, another groundbreaking film.
They give you the hats at the same
Oh yeah,
time?
the hats went with them. Yeah.
Well, he was a mechanic at the garage?
Yeah,
Over 40 years.
wasn't he also an excellent ice skater? Wasn't he?
Skater, yeah, he was an
Didn't he?
excellent, wonderful skater.
He worked at the garage until he was well in his 80s,
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah.
He made a lot of his own tools too for special purposes.
I've got a picture using pump water. It was down in the boathouse, down in Newbury, and we brought it up here.
Fairbanks Moors.
This is originally had these two gears meshed, and that pumped the water up to the cottage. But because the crank's so hard, we pulled it apart so that they're separate.
We'll see if we can get it going.
Yeah. It's there's a battery in here, 6-volt battery, and this is a switch.
We ready?
Yeah. Hopefully. And this is a washing machine engine. And they use these as farms had them. And you could, 2 men could pick these up and move them around. And there was a small belt for slow work and then a fast one on the other side. And that was for cutting wood and so forth. But you get a shot of this. This is the inside of this. It's about an 1880 washing machine.
Oh, my Lord.
And the ringer's on the side.
Oh,
And this is the ringer that actually goes in. But the interesting thing is the way it works. Okay,
All right?
hope for the best.
Yep.
Just got to turn it on, Nick. That makes no. See the action of that. It goes back and forth just like a water. The oiler, this
house, you'd have to wash your laundry all over again.
When did this come into being?
Yeah, I think we're better.
How old would you say this is, Bill?
Oh, early 1900s.
Uh-huh.
Every year at the garage, we used to have a big Christmas tree, with a lot of lights on it. But when they had the shortage, I put that little load of wood out by the tree, and then we had this sign, and with one bulb on the tree. And Bud Larson, our local artist, was the one that made the sign. This was a little machine that ran over in Lake Sunapee at the Clark Estate. It was for lawnmowers. And this is something that you reached up in the top shelf to get the can of spinach down. And I should mention these here. These are all done by a friend of mine who was a colonel in the Army. And he was on my committee, and he just loved to do blacksmith's work. And so this here, and this, and this, and this, and this, and he did all of these and gave to me at different times. And he had a racehorse at Rockingham, and he would pick up some horseshoes down there and put them together. And there's several other pieces of it in different areas.
What would this be, Bill? On here.
It was just something he gave me for Christmas. I think that was a Christmas present.
Are those files on each end of it?
Yeah, these are all rasps that blacksmiths use for horseshoes, for shoeing horses. And see, these are the horseshoes that have been straightened, they straightened out.
Oh, yeah.
And say, here's a foot scraper. Which, you know, you push
yeah.
in the ground.
Right.
And you made it. He's really very clever, but he just loved to do it. And these up here are winnowers. And in the old days, they put the grain on top and then turn the wheel, and a fan would blow the dust and stop the chaff, they call it. And then the grain would drop down. And those are both old winnowers. And this is a small one over here.
There's another one here, Bill?
Yeah, and that's a shaker one too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's a little shaking.
You can put them before I can go.
You can pull it down.
There, I can see it.
Yeah.
And these are models?
Yeah, those are models, yeah.
Now, who made those?
I don't know, I bought them at an auction.
That's
But they're
great.
kinda nice, aren't
Yeah.
Another one here.
Excuse me.
At the end, we got a horseradish grater.
Yeah. And the other machine was a size sharpener. So they put a, you could sit up on it and sharpen size, and they used them on farms. And they'd wire the barn and the house, and then they'd take this out in the barn to do the milking, and then they'd bring it into the house and hook it up. And what it does is charge batteries.
Oh, yeah.
And it says on here, see, Delco lighting plant. And this is a Myers pump. It's a water pump. And here's some more. Dick, you tell them about that one, McDuff.
This McDuff engine was made over in Laconia, or Lakeport, in the early 1900s, I would think. And most of the boats on Big Lake
or Winnipesaukee were powered by McDuff engines, and they made several models. Some of them, I think up to 15 horsepower that were two-cylinder engines. And that engine will run in either direction depending on how you start it.
Really?
We did get it going, and it runs quite well. And we've contacted some people that are familiar with these engines, and they plan to visit this summer and see this particular model. I think this is one of the smaller models.
When did you say that was? Around in the 20s?
1904, they said.
1904.
Yeah,
Over half the engine boats on Winnipesaukee were powered with
right.
McDuff engines.
Huh.
Well, when we finally closed the garage up, it seemed a shame to have an auction and get 2 cents a piece for belts. So we brought them all down here, and anybody from New London that needs a belt for anything, that's why they come. And they get it free of charge.
Oh, you-
Actually, that lift that the Stevens is sitting on is rather unique. The whole works is above the ground versus a piston that was really buried under the cement for most lifts, but that is all above ground.
What is it, an accordion type thing? Or?
No, those 4 posts have a cable
Oh, I see.
pulley,
Yeah.
and it lifts that frame that's underneath the Stevens up in the air and
Yeah.
lifts the car up at the same time.
Huh.
This is a firebox, and it was given to me by a woman who lives in Gloucester and owns a Rudder restaurant. You may have been there sometime. But anyway, Arthur Fiedler loved to go to the Rudder restaurant for meals, and whenever he was there, she always had this as a centerpiece of the table with flowers and so forth.
Huh.
So after he died, she said, I thought it'd be nice if you had it. So this is how it came here. As you know as well as other people, I guess, that Arthur Fiedler was a fire nut. In his rehearsals, they said if they heard a fire engine go by, he'd turn it over to somebody else and he'd take off and go for the fire. Ah, J.D. And then get down to the next one and push the button.
All the kids are gonna leave school now.
Yeah?
It's a bone shaker bicycle, and they were made by local blacksmiths. They used old wagon wheels, and but there was a first early vehicle for many people.
So this is a new section, Bill, the Gott wing.
Yeah, the Gott wing.
When did that happen?
Well, we had done a few additions, and my wife was a little bit discouraged about additions down here. She came down one day, and they were pouring cement for this addition. And she said, what's going on down there? And I said, oh, we're having a little addition. So we discussed it at dinner that night very seriously. And I said, well, the least I can do is name it the Gott Wing. So.
Her name, maiden name having been Gott, right?
That's right, yeah. And that was used, what was it, right after the war, they had, you know, the guys that didn't have a job.
You don't mean
Shape up.
Second World War?
No, First World War, after, what was it, these camps, and this was, and they had boxing rings in these camps.
Oh, I see.
And that came from one of those.
Was that the CCC?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of, CCC camp, yeah.
Conservation Corps.
Civilian Conservation
Right.
Corps.
Yeah.
Didn't they put some of the trails up on Cannon
Many of
Mountain?
the trails, that's right. And they were paid by the government.
Mhm.
We paid that.
Also gave you a plate The
Yeah,
GAL,
I
huh?
had plate number 1. 1936 Ford Fit, and I sold it years ago, 1936 actually, and my son used it when he used a Colgate. You'll notice the Colgate thing on the rear glass, and then it had been sold 2 or 3 times, and I bought it back, and I've had it ever since.
Wasn't that a 50th wedding anniversary present?
No, that's the one.
That's the next one
the
coming.
other one.
What's this, Bill?
This is a electric automobile. In the back, where Dick's hand is the batteries that run it. Just push down on the siren, Dick, and the right hand. That's right, way down. And this is a picture of David and President Bush. And
Oh, for
Bush
goodness
is
sake.
driving it.
Right here?
Yeah, here in New London.
But was it here at the Ice House, or did you have it someplace else?
No, they had a Bush campaign reunion here. And they officially is known as an auto redbug. But there's an article that was in the, let's see, some paper anyway. They called it a Bushmobile because he was driving it.
And what vintage is that, Bill?
Oh, it's the early 20s.
Uh-huh.
And they were used for wealthy families, for kids to ride around the estate.
Had pneumatic tires.
And this is what you get in it so before you move it. I'm not sure with the battery down enough or not. Now, one speed, one is down and the other's up.
Oh, okay. Whoop.
You see how it goes?
Does it go backwards?
I don't know. No, you go slow and fast.
So to turn it around, you get up and lift it around?
Oh no, you turn around.
Does it back up?
No,
No.
it won't back up. No, you got to keep going in circles.
Also?
No, this is a little gasoline racer
Ah.
that the kids love to use around here. '36 convertible coupe, which I had when we came back from our 50th wedding anniversary for my wife. And then the number plate, just pull up so I can get the number plate. That 3787 was an anniversary,
Oh, great.
50th anniversary. And we came back from Williamsburg, and I had this sitting in the driveway for my wife.
Oh, great. She didn't have a clue before that, huh? That she was going to get it.
She didn't know anything about it.
No.
The old rumble seat.
And also, and she didn't know they were going to be there. So when we get off the plane, they were all there waiting for us.
Oh, great.
See, this is on. So then, this is on. And then you go down here, play. So you pick out a tune you want to play.
24.
24. So you push 2 and 4. Okay, you pick out one more. Just push the play button.
That's it? That wasn't very long.
That's the comfort that goes with it. on a windy day. Why?
So when you got the top down, you can put
Yeah,
a windshield
that's right.
between the front and the back.
That really is
Okay.
this is a movie projector that my father put in the New London Town Hall in 1924. And at that time, it was exactly the way it is now, and the only difference is this was put on when they came out with sound. But in the first part, it was just the way it is now, and they have to change the reels, and they'd stop and somebody would play the piano while they're changing the reels. And then it's operated with a carbon arc, and I'll show you how it works. Just don't look at it too long.
I may have disconnected that. No, I guess not.
See, this is the arc here. That's what they use
Wow.
for light. And the machine projectors today still use the same thing. And this is the film. And in here was the Memorial Theater, 44 cents. That's good. And somebody found those tickets up at the dump and bought them, gave them.
Oh, isn't that fun?
See this whole roll?
Oh, yeah.
I wrote on it.
Huh. Can you torch that?
They have. Go in there and turn it on, Dick, and you can hear it.
All right.
Some guys on the legislature got that for me down in Boston.
Air-conditioned telephone booth, huh?
Hear the fan?
Uh-huh. Hi.
An early telephone switchboard.
Where
It
did it
was
come
over in
from?
the town of Epsom.
Huh.
And it was exactly the kind that we used to have here in London, because then as a little boy I used to go up and they'd let me pull the things out. And so I saw it and bought it. And the others are a couple of early telephones.
Is there a little hand generator, ringing generator?
Yeah, that was a... You can see that. That's what they used to use for
Yeah.
power. What is it, 12 and a half volts? or
Oh, the
something?
ringing was more like up to 100 volts.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but the talk battery, just so you could carry on a conversation, was around 12.
Uh-huh.
And later was 48 volts
Oh.
in the more modern systems.
Oh, that was to power the telephone?
Yeah, the ringing part of it.
Oh.
And then in here used to be a little handle, they used to be
That's
able to
right.
ring it by hand.
Yeah.
This is an old pump that somebody gave me down in Elkins one time. It was made in Elkins, down at the size shop. And this is a early bathtub. This is from Sears Roebuck catalog. 1902 Sears Roebuck catalog. And this way you sat, and this way the soap was, and your mother brought that in the kitchen on Saturday night, and you stood there and had your bath.
Oh, you never earned that, were you, Bill?
No, no. But you can see down here, they had them for sale. And it was $4.10. Owen Stern of Owen Johnson, and that was Barbara Stern's father, had that in his office in Manchester. And they had it fixed so you could talk into it, and had a pencil so you could write.
So this was the first idea of the...
Hands-off telephone.
Yeah, the speakerphone.
Yeah.
You didn't have to hold on to it
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd seen this kind of arrangement in railroad stations or something.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty neat.
And see, you just swing this over and put it down on here.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
That shoves off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
another...
it's another villain?
Back from the shop bellows, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this is another, the fellow that did the others for me, Colonel.
Oh, yeah.
And the drill, is that an ice drill or?
No, it's a carpenter's tool.
Oh. U.S. mail bag?
Yeah, that was in an old car that I found. And this was Ozzie Wood' broom. I didn't tell you that.
No.
He only stood about this tall, and he's the one that dug up the boat from Lake Sunapee, and then restored it completely. And over on the historical side, over in Sunapee, they've got the steam engine that was in it. And Ozzie was the guy that did it. But this just shows he wasn't going to waste it. The broom, somebody broke it, and he made this handle, and his wife gave it to me.
Oh, you know.
And this is something that's interesting that no one yet been able to tell me what it was for. I know. It's your turn to guess. And see, it works like this.
Can opener?
No, it's an asparagus buncher.
Well, that was going to be my second guess.
See, you put it down here, and then you see, remember the string went around the bottom
Yeah.
and the top?
Yeah.
And you could put what press you wanted on it. You could set it in 2, 3 places.
Now, where'd you get that?
An antique show. And these it's your turn to guess again. These here are little brass knobs. And they go on the horns of cows. So you screwed these on the horn so that if you went like that, so the cow next to him wouldn't put his eye out.
Huh.
These are big enough so that...
And who gave you PETA, Bill?
Is what?
Who gave you PETA?
Oh, a friend of mine moved to New London, and his wife was very anxious to have a special plate. As long as she was in New Hampshire, she thought that was great. She kept after her husband, and he said it cost $25 to have these special plates. And she said, well, it would be worth it. And she kept after him, and finally, he went to Concord and came home and said, well, I finally got you a special plate. She said, well, what is it? He said, come out and see it. So she said, Peter, what does that mean? He said, pain in the ass. And these are all number plates of different people who used to live in New London. Osmond Sargent and Mildred Sears. There's Ann's plate.
Yeah.
There's Jen Miller.
Yeah. Jenny Messer. And these here are some fancy ones. The Speaker of the House, New Hampshire Governor, Jim Cleveland.
Herb Swift. Well, there's Walt Chadwick, Fred Pressey's plate on the, used to be on the ambulance.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
111 with a cross on it.
Uh-huh.
Do you still have number 1 antique, Bill?
Yes.
And what's the I-70, 710?
In there? That's while they were,
Oh yeah,
Experimenting with
we talked about getting antique plates, and so the commissioner said, "You go ahead and design something, and we'll make it up." So Bud Larson made the design. I took it down, and these were made at the state prison. And so he said, "Well, now you pick out the one you like, and we'll do it." So this is the one that we chose. That one up there.
Without Live Free or Die. Good for you.
Yeah, well, and he was agreeable to that. Petey's father was in the legislature in Massachusetts, and they'd gotten antique plates. So I had been Representative Hugh Gregg when he was running for governor. This not the president, Hugh Gregg, but so I went down to see him one day, and he said, "Hell yeah," he said, "that's logical." I said, "Go over to the commissioner and tell him that you think it'd be a good idea." So I never knew anything about politics. So I went over with Bud Larson, and the commissioner said, gee, he said, you know, we make special plates for you, we got to do it for everybody. And he says, well, I would be opposed to it. And I said, well, the governor told me to come to you. He said he did. He said, you go back and ask him to call me. Because he thought, you know, I was kidding him. So we went back to the governor's office, and he called up this fellow's commissioner. And he said, I think it's a great idea, and I hope you'll go along with it. So then we went back, and he said, now you're talking, boys. We'll see what we can do. Well, when we moved down to the garage, these are all parts bins that we had up there. So I told Petey that, you know, we had to have some place for these parts. And that's really the justification of a little addition. There's everything there, Ford parts, years later.
Well, there's enough, is there enough here to run a garage right now?
A small garage, yeah.
I guess a little out of date. There's probably some
Very much out of date.
new stuff that's come along.
And,
Put myself on that.
Go ahead.
let me get out of the way here. This is the fellow who bought the Common, which is opposite the drugstore, where the gazebo is today for the town. Mary had that bandstand. Worked at Colby all his life as a day laborer. And his daughter had died, and he was all alone. And he found out Colby was going to sell that plot between the inn and the town hall. And so anyway, it's a long story, but he finally bought it. And so he was in his late 80s then, and I used to get down to his house to see him quite often. He lived in the house just beyond the Barn Players. And I was down there one day, and he said that he had a lamp that belonged to his grandmother, and he'd like it cleaned up someday. So I said, bring it down, Osmond, tomorrow, and we'll polish it up. Which he did. And when I got through, I just casually mentioned that I was out of rags, that I've got to get my wife to get me some more rags. He said, you need more rags? I said, well, yeah. He said, I'll be down tomorrow. So the next morning, he came down with a bag over his shoulder, full of rags. And on top of it was this here. And he said, now throw those away. But he said, I just wanted you to see what I wore for 38 winters in New London, and I put every patch on myself. And he was in his 90s at that time. So that's the story of Osmond Sargent.
Are they, they're now made in other than metal?
Oh yeah, they're practically all now plastic,
yeah.
yeah.
Tonka toys, but they're still a going operation.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those on the top shelf, are those Tonkas too, Bill?
No, those are real early toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, those are 1900, a little after. And these are some inaugural plates. This old sewing machine that came out of Benny Sargent's store.
Well, you can
He used to repair harnesses and stuff like that.
Looks like that was 2-speed, depending on how you fix the belt on it.
Yeah, yeah. And these are some size, and these came from Elton, the size shop. And those are the guns that I picked up.
Firing pins all out of those?
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
This is an early horn. This here bends down and blows this. This was on a wagon that got over in Jaffrey. It was on a wagon.
What was this one for? What kind of a car?
This is Model A Ford. That was Dr. Olaf, Model A Ford.
Oh, yeah.
And he junked it, and or gave me the windshield. And this is a electric defroster.
I remember those.
In the wintertime, that's about all you could see out of it.
Yeah.
You had to plug it in. And then this is a magneto. And a lot of people don't realize, but the early cars started on a battery and then they switched over on a magneto. And this is hooked up, you can watch the spark plug, you can see the spark. Can you get it?
Yep.
What's this, another one of your testers?
Yeah. This was on the early Cadillacs, and right beside the shifting lever was this. And so that you put it in gear and you had air, and you could blow the tires up on your car. It's the only car I know of that ever had that, but it was an early Cadillac, I think 18, 19, something like that.
That was driven by the engine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a gear shift, like a little
Oh, I
lever.
see, yeah.
You kicked in gear.
Uh-huh.
And this is a fan that they used to use for, once they got heaters in cars, then they had no way of getting it up onto the windshield, so they had these fans. And this was made of rubber for kids so they wouldn't get hurt. And this is another type up here. And this is a cigar lighter that went on automatically when you pulled it out. And this is the Model T Ford switch. You can see it says battery here. Hear the buzz? And then you switch it over on a mag to run. And then when your battery down. And I had an old Model T Ford. And guys used to steal each other's cars when they were kids, you know. So I had that hooked up underneath the dash, so if anybody stepped on the running board, see? You could turn it off. When I'd leave the car, I'd just leave that on.
Security alarm.
And this is an early lock for cars. This opened up, you put it, when you left the car, you put this around the front wheel. Went and did your business, and when you came back, you put
That's
it back together again.
an early Denver boot.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. But it's, they call it an auto theft signal system. See the nice brass plate?
Yeah.
And these are some bulbs showing some of the early ones and the late ones. And these are down here are all oilers. Different kinds of oilers that they use for the early machines. And these are, this is an oiler and these were for grease. You screw these caps down.
Look at the size of that.
That's a saw. Here's a picture of it here. And they were made, there's a fellow here in town, Herb Hayes and his friend used to go out and saw wood with it. And his daughter gave it to me. She was in the barn. Erilyn Hayes.
That's gasoline operated?
Is what?
How's it powered?
Power gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah, little gasoline motor. But one guy was on this end, and this was made so you could tip the blade either way.
Huh.
You could saw this way or across.
So the motor stayed horizontal and you could flip or vertical. And you
That's
could flip
right.
the blade.
Yeah. It's an early hand pump. Seems though you had something to do with getting that.
Yeah,
didn't
it's
you?
probably a Wilder
Didn't you
pump
find
from
that?
Holliston. This is where we, yeah, Holliston, Mass, and we worked in the building
That's
where they were made.
And this is the Harriet Goff wing, and this was made by Barbara Stern. It was one of Petey's friends, and she did that, gave it to her for Christmas. I don't know what that.
Yeah.
came from the town hall, in the basement of the
How
town
did they
hall.
ever get it out of the town
And
hall?
I remember when it was put in there, Wayne Wheeler and I were up with the little boys, and I thought, boy, isn't that awful. And this was all cemented in, and so they had to cut it off and then take it all apart. And they're going to take it to dump. And I said, well, why don't you leave it down at the ice house? So I had it sandblasted and put it back together again and had make this little house for it. But these are, yeah, the reason they call them slammers is there's a catch here and a catch here and one down here. In order to shut it, you really had to slam it.
Oh, and that's when they put you in the slammer.
Get
Yeah.
that to drop down, and it's a double decker. I don't know, did you notice that?
Oh, yeah, bunk
We
up
got
above.
the accoutrements inside.
Yeah, I see the two of them.
Yeah. 1918 it was included in the basement, a small cell block, but its use was infrequent and often intervals of many months elapsed when it was entirely untenanted. Instead, it wasn't used a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
This has everything in it,
Where'd it come from?
even the lacerating cob. And this says, welcome to our library and music room. Please remain seated during the entire performance. And when I was in the legislature, the prison, they wanted money. They wanted me to come up and go through the prison. And the prisoners had a little shop, woodworking shop. And that was one of the things that, do you remember Rachel Sargent? Well, she was born on a farm over in Vermont. And so she came down here one time and saw it and says, you haven't got a cozy bill. I said, what do you mean a cozy? And she said, in her farm when she was a little girl, they had a privy outside. And this cozy always hung up behind the kitchen stove. So at nighttime, if you went out, you just took this with you, and then when you got through, you brought it back in.
It was
so the
nice and
next
warm.
person- Yeah, nice and warm. And this came originally from Elkins. One day, I went up to the bank, and right in front of the main entrance to the door, there was this thing sitting with a sign on it. Some guy had scribbled and said, for deposits only. And so we brought it down here, and until this lady who owned the property in Elkins came down here one time and said, how did you ever get our privy? And so I told her the story. I never knew where it came from.
I wonder who put it there.
Oh, some kids in town.
I heard it used to be a joke to put outhouses on top of the garage roof.
Oh, sure. What people don't realize, this is a latch string door. You've heard the expression, the latch string is always out. Well, what happened is that as long as this was out, meant that you were welcome to come in. But at nighttime, they pulled it inside. And then, so this is the whole business. It just pulls up the latch. Come in. You can.
Yeah. Go ahead and tie your shoe, Bill. We don't want any
I know,
accidents.
I know it.
I guess after yesterday, I think you better have a first aid kit around here.
This is the lady that owned the privy. When she came up, she saw the privy and she got interested in this stuff. And so when they tore the building down the Elkins, she said, you get down and take anything you want. And there were a couple of tenements in there. And this is the original, it was in it. What's the name of that place down there?
In Elkins?
You know, they tore it down.
Oh, yeah.
Birchcroft.
Birchcroft.
That was
that's right,
Birchcroft.
yeah.
That's the name of it.
That's a great piece. Is that a Wilder Farm? It looks like one. Or is it? No, it's not.
I don't think it
No, it was
is.
made in Connecticut.
And what did you say these were on the wall, Bill?
Soldering irons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're all, see, different shapes and
Yeah.
sizes. And then these, you know, where you put them, they heat them up. And this is a kerosene, and this is gasoline, this is gasoline. and that was gasoline. And this is pigs that they used to melt. They'd melt this up and pour it in these things, and that's the way they made stick sawdust, see?
Sure.
And I bought this as the last thing I've gotten. Isn't that
That
nice?
is nice.
And
Uh-huh.
Petey just all proud like that. She did that.
And it's a nice old bucket. It's
Yeah.
nice.
So
And I used to know why those indentations were in the wood block.
oh, these are to make dishes out of. See, spoons. And then these are plates. Pewter plates. And they pound them out. And these are some more pumps. These are boat pumps over here. And then these were, they use them in shops, big shops where they cut metal. And this was used for making stovepipe. And then this is a food chopper. You can see it coming out. And Janie, you go over there and see how easy it is to cut metal. See, you just raise this up and put it way back toward, no, way
This
back,
way?
that's right.
This
No,
way,
back,
this way.
that's right.
That is easy.
And these are all tin snips right there.
Yeah, little of everything.
So this guy was just going out of business and he said,
Yes, yeah, he was
Whatever
an
this
older
shows.
man, and he gave up. And this was a sign that he had. And these were some of the sample
uh-huh.
tin stuff he made. And this is a tin birdhouse, which is pretty unusual.
Oh, boy.
Give that a blow. This is a tin horn.
Wow. That'll bring the cows home.
Yeah.
Snowshoes? Story on those, Bill?
Snowshoes.
Oh yeah, that was a pair that belonged to a lady who was a friend of my mother's. And she died and her husband gave them to me. But they were made by Osmond Sargent's grandfather.
Really?
Huh. And then these are tire pumps, huh?
The what?
Tire pumps down
Yeah,
there?
these are all tire pumps that people are giving to me.
Got a few more over here.
And this is a deep well pump. The pipe went down in the well, and then this is a double piston. It would bring the water up and then kick it out here. Dora Crockett's is a vacuum thing that they use in the milk room down there.
Oh, I see.
I'm not sure how they use it, but. And this is an old lantern parade light they used to carry around. And I like that they see it's got red, white, and blue on it.
Oh, yeah. 9 o'clock and all's well kind of thing?
Yeah, well, it's for parade. I think these are for parade.
Yeah.
Pour the wax in there, and as a matter of fact, the piece of the string is still in there. See the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is another pump, water pump. And this is a bucket that Jules Pellin gave me. And Jules Pellin's a local fellow. And when he was 82 years old, and he had it, his father, when he was a little boy, his father had this, and would have Jules go down and get his beer. I swear, this is a beer bucket.
There's something leaking out of the,
And his grandfather had it, and I couldn't figure out what it was for, but they did a lot of making syrup. And this was the old sap house, and that went with it, and they had this, so they'd pour the sap into a big.
is the bird's nest still in it?
We got no, we took it out.
So this was originally the first Ford building,
Yes, yeah.
and we now call it the Shell building in honor of the gas pump, huh?
Child's fire wagon. I don't know whether these still work. And this is a high wheeler. The correct name for them is ordinary. And then this is an early fire engine that came from Canaan. And we had new leathers put in that, and it's for the bucket brigade. And to be a floor of a factory, and they'd have one of these. And then if there's a fire, everybody would run and keep putting water in it. And with 4 men, you could put the water over the top of those trees out there. It would really pump. And this is a little hose cart. And this here, every factory had dozens of these. And the reason that this, first of all, it held more water, but secondly, the help wouldn't steal them because they'd take them home and they'd fall over. So that's, and they were for fire only. And this is a little hose cart. And before 1923, the only thing in New London for fire was a thing just exactly like this. You can see underneath there the tank, and a man here, one here, and then they had ropes, and then 2 men there. So 6 men would run down the street to the fire, and it was kept at Shepherd's office because that's the only place where there was heat. But that was the fire department for New London in the early days. This is another high wheeler. This is a Cushman scooter.
Now, are those high wheelers called penny farthings?
Yes, yeah. But ordinary is the later name.
I see.
And this is another Fomite tank. It was on wheels. And you tip it over, and then it came on the wheel. And then you could take that around the floor.
Did that have a chemical in it, Bill, or was it just water?
No, they're chemical.
Yeah.
They were both chemical. Yeah. It's a little 2-wheeler. And that's a little Chinese bicycle that somebody brought over in this country on a plane. He was a pilot, and they had some extra seats, and he just brought that over.
Huh.
And I bought it at an antique shop. And this is a early ladies bicycle. You can see the thing on the back, so
The skirts
Skirt
didn't
will
get-
get
good.
caught, yeah.
and see this had a similar brake that came down here.
And this is a tandem bike, huh? Tandem?
This one?
A tandem right here?
Yeah, yeah. And this is a Sears motor buggy. And this is a, Seth Lamson found this down in Salisbury. It's a 1910 Sears Roebuck catalog. And they advertised the cars on it.
Oh, boy.
And this one sold for $4.95. And you could order them through the catalog, and they delivered to the station. And this is a book that tells about putting them together at the station. And there was a story that said when you went to the station and put the car together, there was, with it came a gallon of gas, a quart of oil, a pound of grease, and a pistol. And they said, well, what the hell's a pistol for? And they said, that's shoot the horse you came to the station with.
How many pieces did it come in?
Well,
How
the
much did you
wheels-
have to
the
assemble?
wheels and stuff was in a big box. And those fur coats was the man who used to run the snow roller in London. Do you know what a snow roller is, Don? Did you ever see one?
Instead of a plow, pack down the snow.
Here's one over here. See, that's a model one. And they took 2 or 4 or 6 horses and they rolled the roads. And this man used to had those coats, used to drive it. And sometimes I was going along, he'd Harold Messer, and he'd stop. I'd put my hand up, he'd pull me up so I could sit down and ride in the snow room.
Now that's why they could have sleighs all winter, because they never got down to bare
That's right.
pavement.
They packed it so. Steamer. They are made in Marlboro, Mass. And I've driven it several times in the Hospital Aid Parade. The last time I tried to start it, it got on fire. And I haven't started since. And when they had the big anniversary in Marlboro, Mass, they tried all over the country to find a steamer. And this was one of the few that was available. And so they came up with a great big van and insured it for $50,000 from the time it left here until it got back. But this was a local paper. Up in Maine, and he had gotten it from the family whose grandfather had driven it in 1899 from Boston to Maine, Portland, Maine, and started the sanitization process. That's where it started. This guy drove this car up.
Was that actually the engine made by Marlboro, or was it a Stanley engine?
No, it's just like Stanley. They had different people make their boilers and stuff. And so you can see underneath here.
Yeah.
And I think Stanley used the same system. This is a 1951 motorcycle. BMW.
That's where they got their start, isn't it, BMW with
That's right.
motorcycles?
Yeah, where it all started.
It's your
I
hand.
try to ride it at least once a year. I've had my ride this year.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go up Main Street and back?
Went up around the college. And back.
There's another Osmond Sargent invention.
Show him how that works.
This Osmond Sargent, like you said, was in his 90s, and he always used to mow his lawn
Yeah.
faithfully, and I guess it got to the point where he couldn't pull up on the
Exactly.
starter, so he rigged this up in his basement or his garage so that he could start the engine just by doing this instead of pulling.
And you know, he left his house to Margaret, and she told me, you get down the cellar and take anything you want. And so this is exactly the way he had mounted this cellar, so
Isn't that great?
it's nice that he saved it.
What's that, the hood to wagon?
No, that was the pan for went underneath the sears.
Well, here's another bone shaker,
Yeah, it won't take a tricycle. And this was a little race car that did 80 miles an hour at a racetrack in
No.
Ohio.
huh? Really?
But it had two engines on it at the time. It was Emily Weathers' brother had it. And his father's afraid he'd get killed on it. So they left it up here.
Retired old number 7 up here, huh? Oh yeah, I remember seeing
Yeah.
that.
And then over there was the
Michelin
Fisk.
Man.
Time to retire.
Oh,
by
yeah.
Fisk, remember? Little boy with
Yeah, candle.
Was a photographer who worked for Backrack, who posed for that.
Is that so? Oh, he done.
Was this a cream?
Oh, yeah.
Anchor?
Yeah, that's right. Separator.
What, right here in front?
Yep.
Right here, that's a milk separator.
Huh.
Separates milk cream.
Looks like it was motor driven, and also you could crank it by hand.
I think originally it was hand, and then they got fancy and put a motor on it. And this is an early foghorn.
Well, tell me about those.
Well, they were ones that came from Limeboro, and his name is on them, on the front of them. Putnam, E. Putnam. Eliezer Putnam. These are all his tools.
Well, you know, there were Spalding relatives of the Putnams as well.
Were they?
Yeah.
Oh, we did.
Well, you've got a grandson named Putnam.
That's right, yeah. Putnam Kidder. Yeah. That's right, yeah, I'm glad you...
Those are important.
Metal in those still good, Bill? In the planes?
Did what? German telephones
Field
hooked up on
telephone.
the next building and disconnected now, but you could talk back and forth.
Soapstone stove.
I'll take that off there so you can see it.
You know, we went into people's house in Dublin. They'd had an old Vermont castings stove, metal stove. They just switched to a soapstone stove. So they're coming back.
They... Take a picture of that gun in there. This Jeep was one that we had that I bought to plow snow with right after the war. And then it was sat outdoors for a long time. Finally we fixed it up. And I had a picture of the Jeep that I had in Germany. And I got Bud Larson to put the star and the numbers, and they're the same ones that I had. And you can see around front here, this is... My company was the headquarters company of the 102nd Infantry Division. Hence that's... but the marking's exactly the same.
And this was what, like a 45?
42.
42.
Ford, yeah.
Oh, so
See,
it was a service
I
Jeep.
don't know whether you could get it. Yeah, right here, you could get a shot of that. I bet your brother would. See, why the hell did he ever get those tires? Because the original Ford plant was sold, and they were taking it to Russia during the war, and it was sunk in the Murmansk Sea, the whole
Oh,
bunch.
really?
It's-
And here we go into the blacksmith shop.
Can you see?
Yeah.
It's like squirrel.
Well, this was a blacksmith shop, which was on a farm down in Sutton, and they were going to tear it down, and they'd sold the property, and they said, if you want it, you can have it. So we made the foundation and brought it up exactly as it is, except there was nothing in it. And they brought it at 4 o'clock in the morning, and just 4 inches to spare, coming under Route 89.
Wow.
And we brought it up here and set it in, and then I put all this stuff in. But this is something very unusual, which is a foot treadle lathe. And 2 fellows came home in the Civil War, and they lived in New London. And they were the ones that got this, made this lathe. One brother would pump it, and the other would,
Turn the wood. Huh?
yeah, whatever he had to do. I don't think they're very amazing those now. Once you get it going,
Where do you turn the wood?
here, this is, you put stuff in there, and this is adjustable. And then treadle saw, and one fellow would get on there with a board, and the other fellow would pump it. And these are extra saw blades, depending on what you were cutting.
What vintage would those be, Bill?
Oh, 1880.
Yeah.
And this is the man who gave me this and this. And he had gotten it from the going shop, Bob Lowell's wife's grandfather.
Didn't give you
Over
the
there.
pipe.
Hmm?
Didn't give you the pipe, though, huh?
No, no.
Well, he was from Sutton.
Yeah, John Bailey was, yeah. Yeah. That's a drill press. And this is a, what they call a doctor's wagon. And Janie took care of the upholstery in it.
Yeah. It's like it could use some dusting now.
Looks good.
It was called a doctor's wagon because the doctor drove it, or?
Any house calls in it?
Yeah, that was the idea, I guess, yeah. And it was supposed to be lighter because of these wheels, so they could probably go faster. And then this is an old, all these old tools are blacksmith heads. And then that was a forge. And this was the apron, 2 aprons that they used to wear, shoeing horses. Extra coal, isn't it, Dick, in there?
Right,
Yeah.
all ready to go.
Now, the guy gave you just the building and you found all this stuff since, or was some of this his?
Yeah, I picked this stuff up through the years, yeah. And see, this is what they used to use to put the horse's hoof on when they were working on it. And then this is a toolbox. This is one of the tools you put up against the shoulder there.
Ouch.
To clean the horse out.
Where did you
This
find
is
all this
Model
stuff?
T Ford stuff down here.
Transmission covers from a Model T Ford, huh? Where did you find all this stuff, Bill?
Oh, here and there and everywhere.
Everybody stops on the way to the dump,
Yeah, that's right.
see if you might want something.
This looks like an old sleigh. Part of
No,
this-
those are the shafts that go with this.
Oh, I see. I see.
There's an old 2-man saw. I used to get mad at my brother with those.
See, he was pulling when you wanted him to push?
Yeah, it's quick test of character, those things. Where'd that chain come from?
Heavy duty.
Looks like that one might have been in the lake for a while.
Yeah, our fellow that was a lawyer in the state, and he was a screwball, and if I could tell you his name, I can't remember it. But he was a logger also, and they found that in the river up in Maine somewhere. And he said, I know who would like to have that. And he brought down and gave it to me.
Well, I'm just about out of tape. And this is the wing of the ice house right here, right?
Right, this was the wood shed,
Original.
where Shepherd stored wood
Yeah.
that he sold along with the ice. And some of those signs, Red Gables was down at the foot of Pleasant Lake, is now called Pleasant Lake Inn. That's one of the early hotels. And the sign on the right is Colby College, New Hampshire. Colby Junior College wanted to change their image to indicate that they were a 4-year college, so they tried to change their name to Colby College, New Hampshire, and Colby College in Waterville, Maine didn't like that,
Yeah.
so they started legal action, and Colby had to give that name up, and now it is Colby Sawyer College.
Yeah. But we didn't talk much about them. And I thought it would be good to have Bill give us a little background on, first, the 1931 Standard Victoria. What's the story on this one, Bill?
Well, this came from over in Claremont and belonged to a man who used to repair gas pumps at our garage. And he said he had this. He also had a farm. And it was buried up to the hubcaps in his barnyard. And Bud Larson and I bought it together. We brought it over here and fixed it up. And then I bought Bud's share. And that's how it ended up here.
And this is the top of the line, 1931.
At that time, it was considered Ford's top of the line, yeah.
And it's been reupholstered?
The upholstery was done by an outfit it came from Pennsylvania. And they said when we got it, it was bought from England, and it's exactly the same outfit that Henry Ford bought it from in 1931.
The rear end of this is a little unusual because it's got the bustle effect and also the spare tire mounted on back. Really a nice looking car. Also, to accommodate the tire, the bumper is split rather than being a full bumper across the back, which is standard. Model A 1929 Beach Wagon. We saw this one a little earlier too. When did they start calling them station wagons, Bill?
I really don't know. I don't know.
I guess if you lived by the beach, it was a beach wagon. If you went to the station,
The railroad is a
station wagon. What's the story on this one?
Well, this came from there was a family lived in New London, and the fellow's uncle had it in Massachusetts, and he became ill, and it was in storage for many years. And his nephew told me, he said, you know, if you want that car, you can have it. So we went down and got it, and a tree had grown up in back of the garage where it was stored. But the tree had been cut down, and so we got the car out and actually drove it almost to New London, but down in Warner, the timing gear let go, and so we had to tow it the rest of the way. But everything else on it was original.
And you've taken a trip or two in this, haven't you?
Yes, Petey and I and the Lawrences went from here. We left here one April morning with all the side curtains on and went to Williamsburg, Virginia in it.
Wow.
And an interesting thing down there is a lady was looking at it in Williamsburg, and she commented that she saw the New Hampshire plate, and she said that it's Derry. And I said, well, we call that Alan Shepard territory. And she says, yes, he's my brother.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So that was an interesting incident.
Well, I rode on a chairlift out in Aspen, Colorado with Alan Shepard after he'd been on the moon.
I'll be down. Huh.
That wood's in good shape. Is that the original wood, Bill?
Yes, yes it is. And one interesting feature, the tailgate. See, it had plenty of room on the back to put the trunks.
Oh, yeah. So you'd ride with the tailgate down and load it, huh?
On the way home from the beach, yeah.
We walked by this a little earlier. It's
Would it be
called
good to have a light on that?
Well, I think I
Turn
can
the
get
light
it.
on in there.
I think we can get it.
I can move that bicycle.
Well, yeah, that's right.
This is the other wing of the ice house. You call it the woodshed, Bill?
Yes.
And this
This
is, go ahead.
This was originally a part of the Shepherd property.
And I guess the biggest piece in here is a little red Jeep.
The seas. But, and somebody was taking the dump, and they said, gee, maybe you'd like it. So they came down here and we put it up.
Benefit fund for local persons and the services, huh?
Yeah.
Kidder and Little garages. Oh, was there another garage run by Little? Or was that?
No, that was the Edmunds, the store.
But who was Little in Kidder and Little?
No.
A.S. Little.
Yeah, A.S. Little.
Son, I worked
Yeah.
for them.
And But we started first, and then they had the stable, and then they went into the garage, Sand Little. But this little Jeep belonged to a man by the name of Hedstrom from Pennsylvania. And he is a summer person down on Lake Sunapee. And it was difficult for his wife to shift it. So he turned it in toward a shift car, an automatic transmission. And it was such good shape, I decided we'd ought to keep it, and we use it as a maintenance car all these years.
This is a Willys and it's post-war?
First post-war.
Yeah.
Vintage.
To make it a 47.
Yeah, 47. It's a CJ2A.
CJ2A. And now it's a work vehicle, huh?
Every day, just about.
Looks like there's a couple of bullet holes in back here. I guess that's where the license, no?
Wired the first houses in London. As a matter of fact, our house was the first house lighted on Main Street.
Oh, is that right?
It's a building that Chan Perkins' office is in now.
Was your father an electrician or you just picked that up?
No, he used to do electrical work in the wintertime and the cars in the summer
I see.
because all the cars were stored in the winter.
And these numbered key rings or whatever they are here was hanging? Are those locks? What are those with the numbers on them?
Oh, these here?
Yeah.
No, those came from Dora Crockett, and they were cow tags.
Oh,
And this is interesting, this Arnold Spring track over there.
yeah, got it?
And that was part of the Arnold Spring up in Springfield.
Behind Twin Lake Villa.
Yeah, and my godfather left that to me, and I gave it to the state of New Hampshire.
Yeah. Didn't they used to bottle some water from
Oh
that?
yeah, the spring, I go part of the bottle
Yeah.
that they used to spring water. Gasworks, he ran the gasworks in London.
Yeah.
On Main Street, they lit the lamps.
Is this your motto or his, Bill? Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way?
Sounds like Jim Cleveland almost.
He had that right behind his desk, and I was impressed by it.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a copy made and gave it to me.
Uh-huh.
What was his name, you remember? Adjutant General?
I can't remember. It's a Greek name.
We got another bone shaker here. Dick's gonna give it a little whirl.
I've never driven it before.
Don't go over any bumps.
You want to get ahead to pretty much straight, Dick. Get
Yeah.
going.
Whoa! Whoa!
Dick, stop it. Turn the front wheel around so your hands aren't that's right.
Pedals are a little slippery from the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that makes it easier to steer.
There he comes. Downhill, he's a real veteran. No such thing as a spring.
All the water drained from Colby down this way. And so there's always, this has been very wet area. And so